You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 210 of Teach Better Talk. My name is Ray Hewart, and as always, I am with the co-host that doubts my abilities, Mr. Jeff Gargas. How are you, Jeff?
I'm great. I might have doubted your abilities, but I don't know if you saw, I gave you a little golf clap when you introduced yourself.
Oh, a little golf clap. Thank you for the golf clap.
I don't think I say this enough.
I don't get a full applause. I just get a golf
Well, I didn't want to interrupt your. I didn't want to interrupt your beautiful intro.
Oh yeah, because that would be the first time you've ever interrupted me before. So why start now?
I think it's very important for all of our listeners to know that while we might bicker and we might fight a little bit, that I over here, me right here, Jeff Gargas, I am a Ray Hewart fan. So that was my. I'm just cheering you on over here. I'm a fan. I'm rooting for you every day. I'm like. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I bet Ray is out there just changing lives today. And I'm so pumped. And I get to work with her, and I get to do podcasts with her. And, oh, man. And that Adam Welcome's probably feeling, he's got to be waking up every morning so lucky. You got to write a book with her. Guys,
do you see the hostile work environment that I work in? Do you see this? You're witnessing it, right? Could you help? Please send help. That's what I'm saying. Please
send help. Anyway, so I wanted to. I'm so thrown off now. It's been ridiculous. Who
threw us off? Let's just confirm.
Oh, me. It's okay, always good. Me.
I just want this all on record.
9 out of 10 times, maybe 9.5 out of 10 times, it's me. But I think you can take at least a 0.5 of the
I don't know. I'm perfect. I don't know what you're talking about.
If that doesn't throw us off, I don't know what else does. I wanted to talk. One of the things that we love to do, that I don't think we talk a whole lot about. I mean, we share it out and stuff, but we don't talk. I don't know if we ever really talk much about it here. It's just all the different free resources and stuff that we have over at teachbetter.com. Could you highlight one that's a fairly recent one that I think is so powerful, especially right now because of just this digital hybrid, how am I going back to school, all these different things. It's always powerful. I think even more so right now, it's such an impactful thing, and I know it's something that you use and have for a long time. And that's the digital progress monitoring sheet that we have. And there's a free download over at teachbetter.com/free-resources, or if you just get to the site, there's a big button that says get free stuff here. Click that. There's a lot of stuff there, but I want to highlight that one specifically. Could you give us I'm going to do the time thing because you did this to me a couple episodes ago, and I'm going to do it the right way. Can you give us a 90 to 120 second overview of the progress monitoring download sheet, and go.
I wish I could see the timer. The timer only works if I can see it. Stop timing me. Jeff. I can see him. He has his watch up. If you guys aren't watching us talk on YouTube right now and you're just listening to the podcast, this is not good. How many seconds am I at,
Funny enough
Jeff?
is I'm on here. I'm trying to find my timer. I'm like, where is the timer on this thing? And start. Okay, good. You started.
Okay. Friends, this is probably, Jeff, this is a good one because honestly, everybody asked me about our progress monitoring page. And I stole it because it's a classroom management strategy that we talk about in the grid method. But actually, regardless of the type of classroom you have, having a way for students to advocate for their needs is so important. And I was just doing some professional development live with our network on this last week. And I was working with my student teacher on it earlier last week as well, because I'm trying to show her how even though we're remote, students are constantly updating their progress and advocating for their needs, and she can see that in real time. And so what I love about this page is I truly use a Google Sheet. If you go to the download, it's going to give you the Google Sheet. And students use colors to advocate for what they need at that current time. So I actually operate it, just to give you some insight, I operate it during our class time in our remote learning session, where students are not only tracking their progress throughout their learning opportunities, but also advocating when they need a teacher conference or they have a question or they've accomplished something, and we're using it as these moments of celebration. So when a student hops onto a video call for something, and it could be a question or a teacher conference or anything in between, I actually already know what they need because they're updating that progress monitoring sheet. So it has been an incredible, I should preface, it's been an invaluable tool, to be completely frank. It is something I use in my classroom when we're not remote. I will use it in a hybrid and when we're hopefully all together very soon. But remote, it's like saving my butt. So I totally recommend you guys go check out that Google Sheet because there is a whole lot of uses there. How'd I do, Jeff, on time? Just tell me. I bombed it.
I'm curious. We talk about this, and I so if you don't know, if you haven't been listening for long, I do this to write all the time when I'm like, all right, Ray, 30 seconds on a topic that you can't possibly cover in 30 seconds. But I'm curious if you have any idea, like, because it's really hard to know how long you've been talking when you're the one talking. Like, I don't know. Do you have a guess on how long you took? It wasn't crazy. You weren't far off.
3.5 minutes.
No, you only had 1:49.9, so minute 50, not even 2 minutes. Pretty good. And technically, you started talking about like 4 seconds in, so you weren't far off.
Oh.
Anyway, one touch on that. So curious, because I love that you mentioned. I was going to ask you, but I know that you already mentioned that. Like, this is something that what I would like about this tool is that it's really, really valuable in this hybrid remote. But you've always used it, so you use it in there. So this is one of those tools we talk about, like. I hope you take something back from these times, and we could take positives by a tool. This is something that can go with you at all times. And I love that you touch on it, that you know exactly what they need, because it's not just notifying you of what they need at the time, but you also know where they're at in their progress and where they're at in their learning path. So you have a pretty good idea of what they're going to need help on because of where they're at.
I'm telling you guys, I know that I'm sure listeners, like you have your way that you're managing student conferences. I don't know a better way to manage student conferences. Everyone's asking me, how are you meeting with your students? How are you managing conferencing? Are you having them sign up? Guys, I'm not right now. I have a live video feed that students log on to when they need it. And at no matter what time of day it is, I can tell you exactly why the student's there, what they need, and I can even pinpoint what questions I need to ask them all before I even say, oh, hey, Jeff, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Let's start our teacher conference, or let me get you support for that. And sometimes students pop in thinking they have a question and they've already tracked that in our progress monitoring page. But then while they're waiting for me, which isn't that long, but while they're waiting for me to say, oh, hey, Timmy, do you have a question? Another student on that progress monitoring page is answering their question in real time. So sometimes they just they pop on and then they awkwardly wave and then leave because they got the support they needed. And so I love it. I don't know. It's awesome. I love it. And going through the process of teaching my student teacher how she's going to manage that in the classroom has been really interesting too, because she ends the class and she's like, wow. And I'm like, how'd you think you did? And she goes through this great reflection. And I'm like, how many students do you think you had contact with? And she's like, oh gosh, I don't know. It was going so fast. I'm like, in your 42-minute class hour, you just talked to 22 students individually or in small groups. And she's like, wow. And you don't know because you're just, you're triaging like you get to do in the classroom. And it just works. I love it. It works.
I love it. That was a great breakdown of that. So go to teachbetter.com/free-resources, or just click that big button when you get to teachbetter.com there. There's a whole bunch of other stuff there, but that is one of many tools that's over there. So appreciate you breaking that down for us in just under 2 minutes. Very well done. Let's talk about just this young woman.
Oh, Maddie.
Was blowing our minds the whole time. We had some tech issues, some bad tech issues, and I'm not going to lie, Ray, you and I were kind of we're ready to go fight some folks because it wasn't it wasn't our fault. It was the tool's fault. And we're ready to go give some words.
We did this recording 2 hours ago. I'm still mad about it.
I know, so if you know, we record 3 episodes in a night, and we record the episode, then Ray and I do the intro, and we usually only have a few minutes in between the intro to get to the next one, so this threw us off, so then we didn't have time to do it, so now we got to come back after doing the 3rd episode, and we're still both fired up about this, but the whole time, we're mad, we're huffing, puffing, and Maddie's like, guys, we're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. We're going to make it.
She's like, it's going to be better the second time. She just has this calming nature. I just want more Maddie in my life.
She's so wise beyond her years in so many ways. It's nuts. I'm so excited for her to continue to grow and be connected with her. But So she is a junior right now in her journey to be an educator. And I can't really preface it enough, like, for this episode, like, how much awesomeness she dropped. I like, there was a part of me that was really mad that we lost the initial recording, and another part of me was really excited to get to ask her all the questions again, because we asked like most of the questions before we had to re-record, and they were just, I mean, they were phenomenal. There was actually one follow-up question that you added on that I was like getting ready to ask, and then you remembered. I'm like, thank you, Ray, because I was gonna get there because it was great. This young woman is phenomenal. I'm super excited for you to listen to it. I hope you go connect with Maddie. She's fantastic. Ray, what do you want to add other than you're a huge fan?
Here's my mindset to describe Maddie. And she brings up Lindsay Titus, so I want to make sure that she hears this too. Lindsay Titus is somebody that I want to be like my life coach. Like, keep me centered, set goals, go after what I want in life, right? I want Maddie to be my like mental headspace, like positivity mindset coach. Like, she is like just calm, and
yes.
I just love the way she speaks. I could listen to her all the time. She better start a podcast.
Yeah,
I'm demanding it.
So for a minute there, I thought you were going to say that you want Lindsay to be your life coach, but then you want Maddie to be Lindsay's coach, just so it trickles down. And like after this episode, Lindsay will probably be like, I want Maddie to be my life coach. And then maybe you'll have it. Like, it'll be just this awesome, like, and then you'll be my life coach.
Lindsay and Maddie should be connected, and then I want to learn from them. And Jeff, if you want to like piggyback on that, it's fine. We'll let you come to the party.
So we'll do that. I like it. We're gonna continue to bug Maddie until she allows me to help her get her podcast going, and it's gonna be great. So with all of that,
maybe it should be a part of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Just saying.
That's not a bad idea. You're very smart. You know,
I try.
For all the times that you try to prove us otherwise, you're actually quite intelligent. Folks,
that was the meanest thing you've
We
ever
are at the
said
end
to
of
me.
our night here, so I apologize for that. Luckily, Mark Heller has already skipped ahead, and he's not listening to this anyway. Anyway, so with all that, let's get into a really great episode 210 with Maddie Mayfield.
All right, we'll be right back with that episode, but I do want to make sure that you know that you should be listening to all the podcasts, a part of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Yes, Teach Better Talk is a fun one, and we really appreciate that you have subscribed and hopefully rated and reviewed this podcast. But we also have other podcasts that we have the opportunity to highlight over in our podcast network. Head over to teachbetter.com/podcast to see the full list.
All right, we are here. We're chatting with Maddie Mayfield. And Maddie, I'm not even going to lie to audience. I'm just going to lay it all out on the line here. The fact that we were recording and you were just laying down so much awesomeness, and we had an issue with the recording software, and we lost it. It just died out on us, and here we are again. And Ray and I are both kind of fired up. We're mad. We want to give some people, like, we got some words for some folks, and Maddie's like, it's all going to be okay. It's going to be good. We're going to get through this.
It will, and we will.
I'm just super excited to continue talking. I'm actually excited now to ask some of the questions that we had already got to again, just to get things going. But let me ask you this one before we get too far into hearing about you and your journey. You're on your way to being an educator, and we've already enjoyed talking to you. But how are you feeling right now?
At this moment, I'm feeling a little, just laughing a lot at how we have plans for things and they just fall through. But it's fine because we can just jump back up and bounce back. But other than that, with the semester being 3 weeks in, I feel like I'm reading textbooks 24/7. And so my head hurts and my eyes just feel like they're crossing. But other than that, it's super fun and I'm loving life.
I just wanted to clarify for our listeners, that is the epitome of Maddie, that she is like, oh, I'm totally feeling fine. We're going to be great. And yet Jeff and I are like, oh my God, we just lost literally gold. We were like halfway through the recording and my mouth was open. I had so many questions for you, Maddie. So this is our take 2. I'm going to ask you so many questions because I'm just so enthralled with all that is Maddie. But before we get into all those things, I do want our listeners to truly get to hear about you and what you do. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a junior in college this year, so I'm halfway done with my college career. I'm also minoring in Spanish, and so the Spanish language is something else that I'm passionate about. But even aside from what I do, I like to give my why, and tell people why I'm choosing to pursue this career. And I think that that's important for me, especially because I haven't stepped into the classroom yet. I don't have my own classroom, so I can't just say, oh, yeah, I'm an educator. I'm an aspiring educator, but let me tell you why I'm so excited that I get to do this. And so I just want to use the gifts that I've been given and my passions and my dreams to contribute to the world and make it a better place. And so aside just from a job description, I take it a step further and make things personal because typically when asked what we do, there is naturally a personal element and it turns in kind of to who we are and what we're passionate about. And so I think that that's an important thing to take note of as well.
I'm not even gonna lie. I'm kind of happy that it messed up when we had to do this all again because now we get to talk to you for longer.
Yeah.
But just your outlook on things, I just love your just goal of just trying to make the world a better place and make it personal like that. I just really enjoy that. I'm excited to hear this story here again because one of the things we always talk about on this podcast is failure. And I talk about being fortunate to have failed a lot in my life because I look back and I see how much I've learned along the way from those failures, both big and small. So can you share a story with us about a failure that you've had and kind of tell us what happened and how did you overcome that? And then what have you taken away from that experience?
Yeah, so I think that the number of failures that have happened are just too many, and I have too many stories. Some of them are more just funny and unfortunate, and some of them are meaningful. But in order to make this the most meaningful, I want to talk about how some of my biggest mistakes that I've made in life were dealing with my mindset. Um, and so one of those mistakes, and something that I'm just now learning to combat is giving all of my energy to everything that presents itself. And I think that it's one thing to know in our head that not everything deserves our energy, but it's another thing to live it out and to make it heart knowledge. It's easier said than done. So when I don't steward my energy well, I end up drained and exhausted. And then my focus isn't on things that really matter. So then I'm just spiraling and I've completely lost my focus. And this has never been a one and done issue that I instantly overcame in one day, but it's something that I'm actively learning to choose every day, how to set the appropriate boundaries, how to take care of myself, and just to be a good steward of of myself and the life that I've been given so that I can continue to be my best and help the people around me and to continue to fulfill this purpose that I was made for.
All right, and I said this last time because because you touched on this about being just the failures around like the understanding your mindset, and
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna try and I'm gonna say it again. And Ray, you can make fun of me, whatever, about my sounding old here, but like to hear someone as young as you and as early in your journey uh, understanding the power of your mindset and seeing that so many of the things that we have to go through are based around our mindset and that's how we get through it is so exciting for me and such just, I mean, filled with hope of what's coming and where you're going to go is such an important piece because having that focus and understanding that if we can control our mind and our mindset and how we think of things and how we receive things is so crucial. So I'm super
Yeah.
excited about that. I love the answer. Let's flip it around now, though. Let's talk about a successful moment you had. This can be something big, something small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And what did you take away from that experience?
Yeah, so it's going to be a theme over the course of this episode that I'm going to talk a lot about internal things because I'm not super experienced in the classroom. I've had field placements and stuff, but as far as successes that I can note that have happened in a classroom, like as an educator, there aren't a ton, and I want this to be as meaningful as it can. So I'm going to keep talking about some internal stuff. Hope that's okay. Um, but even as I was talking about how a lot of our battles happen internally, I find the same thing to be true about our successes. So if we can, work toward overcoming our doubts and insecurities and even working through those failures of our mindset that I was just talking about. And if we can step into who we were really created to be, then I really think that we'll be a force to be reckoned with. And so I say that to say that one way that I've been successful is by making choices to be brave. And for me, this means speaking up about something, even if I stumble over my words, or pursuing a new opportunity, even if I feel unqualified, or simply showing up even when I would rather not, or when I feel like I just can't do it that day. I think that bravery is different for every person, and it changes from one day to the next. But I think that every single time we make a conscious decision to do the brave thing, we're stacking up victories, big and small, within ourselves, which ultimately leads to success.
Oh, see, Maddie, I need you to start your own podcast. And I mean this because I not only love the insight that you shared, but I love the way you speak. Like, I know, Jeff, you can make fun of me because I like people's voices. I don't know why I have this issue that now that we host a podcast, I'm like, ooh, everyone's voice. Do you have a podcast voice? Maddie, you have a podcast voice. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
People would listen to your podcast just to hear your voice and your insight. That's all it would need to be, like a weekly reflection in the life of Maddie.
Ray, I am not making fun of you over her. I'm over here going, yes.
Right?
I've already got it laid out for her. Like, she just needs to commit right now so everyone can hear it, and then we're going to make it happen. So,
y'all are something else.
I think you'd be great. And I know we've been following each other on social media for a while. I just have always loved the way you've shared things, and especially on this podcast so far. There's just been so many different moments where I'm like, oh, I just could hear you elaborate on that one sentence so much more. I do want to make sure that I get to this question, though, because I can only imagine the type of answer that's keeping you excited about education. I mean, you're currently studying to be an educator.
Right.
You obviously have done so much thus far to prepare yourself. So when it comes to education and all that you're doing, what's really keeping you excited about where education is right now?
So right now, specifically, if you take into consideration the state of the world and everything that's happening in schools, it's absolutely insane. That's not new information. And so in the midst of the chaos, I like to bring, steadiness or peace or even joy. And so right now, I'm just loving to intentionally take time to encourage educators, my peers, and even students who are in that K through 12 age range. I think that everybody needs to be encouraged. And so it doesn't even necessarily have to be something in the educational realm, but just taking advantage of the opportunity to encourage somebody and to keep hope alive and do my part in that is something that I love and am extremely passionate about. So that's for right now.
I think that's awesome. I think the more that we can share that encouragement for other educators is huge. And obviously that's something I really strive to do as a member of the Teach Better team. But what I love that you're talking and empowering others to go and encourage others. Like, could you imagine how different our world would be, or even just our field of education would be, if everyone just was a cheerleader for everybody else, right? How different it would feel walking into a school building, or even just navigating education right now if we built that supportive community. I think that's so important.
Right. Yeah. And that is something that I really want to establish as part of the culture in my classroom one day. And that's something that I want to model and teach my students. There's more to being an educator than helping our students grow academically. And so I'm just so excited even now to think about how my students will change the world, and even how much they'll impact the world if they, take time to encourage one of their friends who encourages one of their friends. And if we can just create this world of empowerment and hope, I just feel like it would change the game for everybody. And I think that we do this for the kids, but even even in that, I think there's a lot of value in hopefully teaching and modeling for them that concept of empowering other people.
So if you had the ability to give one piece of advice, I think this question's funny, actually posing it to you, because I can only imagine as a newer teacher, somebody aspiring to be in the classroom, people try and give you advice all the time. So if you had to give advice to the masses, whether it be a new educator or an educator who's been in the classroom for 30 plus years, what advice would you want to share with educators right now?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing is going back to the beginning, going back to your foundation and remembering why you started. Why are you doing this? Who are you doing this for? What's your reason for being here? And just thinking about those questions and encouraging educators to remember why they're doing this. And I say that because I think that there's great power, like genuine power, in knowing and remembering our purpose, and that no matter how hard it gets, if we can remember that we were made for this, then we can push through and continue to impact the world and just make changes for the better.
So important. Jeff, I know you have question 6 coming up, but I asked Maddie this earlier when we were recording, and I want to make sure we get this.
There. I was going to go there, so you got this. I love it.
Yeah, we have to make sure.
Because you are so good at what you do, Ray, that you just remember these. I'm so fortunate to have you as a co-host.
Jeff, I'm so glad that compliment is recorded in this podcast. That's so important.
So sweet.
So sweet. Maddie, but for real. Okay, so this question that I want to ask you that I know is not a typical question is purely about your use of social media, because I know you're a junior in college, you're hoping to have many, many years in education in your future, but you're already starting right now to become a connected educator. And I've been connected with you on social. I'm sure you connect with hundreds and thousands of educators on social. Why are you choosing to do that right now? And then if somebody was listening and they were like, okay, maybe I want to be a connected educator, where would you start if you were starting your journey choosing to be somebody who, is considered a connected educator?
Yeah, so I think that it's important. It's very important right now to start early and to start before I have my own classroom, because not only is it good to make connections with other educators, but I have so much to learn. And I know that a lot of it's going to come from experience, but through these connections and following educators on Twitter and just connecting myself in that way, I think is so valuable, because it allows me to learn and just glean from their knowledge and wisdom and experience that they have in the classroom. Because if you think about somebody who's been doing this for any amount of years, like 1 to 30, and then think about all of the knowledge that they have, built up over time, and then me 2 years away still from stepping into this fully, I just think that it's like gold that I get to connect with people and learn from them and just learn from what they're doing. I think it's phenomenal.
I think it's hilarious that you said like gold, because I'm pretty sure that's what this episode is at this point.
Oh.
And that wasn't meant to be like my normally corny transition. That was like a legit statement.
Well, thank you. That's so kind.
I'm just so excited to watch, to continue to be connected with you and watch you continue to grow and just change the world at this point. So
thank you.
I'm also excited to get into these next 6 questions here. So we're going to do these 6 questions. Your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. Are you ready?
Oh, I got it.
Oh, she's got it, Ray. She's got
some
confidence over there.
You know what? And I just want our listeners to know this was as far as we got when we were recording it before. So she legitimately has not practiced these, just so you know.
She didn't get to do this before, so that's not like this isn't. Yeah,
but it's my second time around, so I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
We didn't get here. This is your first time here. You should be nervous again.
Well, I just feel confident, so I'm gonna go with it.
I love it. All right. What is one EdTech tool you cannot live without?
SlidesGo. Have you heard of that? You probably have.
It's themes like Google Slides themes, right?
Yes, I learned about it today, and it's amazing.
Wait, I've never heard of it.
I know most things, Maddie. There's not much that I don't know.
I've never heard of it. That's a new one for me.
Do I have time to get
only
into
know it
this?
because I Googled it after I saw
rapid fire questions.
All right, I got us off there. What's a book that you're reading right now?
Well, I'm reading 6 different textbooks, but I won't list them. I am also reading Be the One for Kids by Ryan Sheehy, I think is how you say his last name.
I know that.
And I'm also reading Dream Big by Bob Goff.
Ooh, both great books. Who do we need to follow on social media today, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, either one?
So on Twitter, everybody needs to follow. These 2 women are already part of the Teach Better family. Everybody knows them and loves them, but I have to shout them out. The first one is Lindsay Titus. I mean, come on. Come on. Her Twitter handle is at ltitus828. So go follow her. And my second person that everybody needs to follow is Sloan Joseph.
Yes.
That girl is phenomenal.
Love Sloan.
Me too. And her Twitter handle is at Sloan Joseph.
2 great follows there. What's a good YouTube channel or website for educators?
I'm going to go classic here and say TED Ed Educator Talks.
Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Some form of journaling. Journaling is so good. It helps keep my mind clear and it allows me to decompress. So I think everybody would benefit from that.
And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
My mentor said to me one day, like simply verbatim, "You were made to win." And it changed my life ever since.
Oh, I love that one.
I know. It's amazing.
Oh, so good. You know, Maddie, I know you've listened to this podcast a bunch. You've been connected. You've been in the Teach Better family for a while. We are going to send over the Teach Better Talk trophy to your house to make sure we can celebrate this epic episode. But I want to go even further and make sure that our listeners stay connected to you. So would you mind sharing how everybody can follow you on social and stay connected?
Yeah, so on Twitter, you can find me at Maddie, Mayf. It's like the first part of my last name, 23. And then I'm also on Instagram at _ Maddie Mayfield.
And you can find all the links and all the resources and everything we talked about in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as those links for connecting with Maddie and keep the conversation going. So head over to teachbetter.com for those show notes. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and review, we'd really, really appreciate that as well. Let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and connect with these amazing educators and just share this podcast with them. Maddie, this was awesome. I'm so thankful to you for dealing with some of the tech issues we had and helping us lay out just so much value in this episode. I'm so excited for people to listen and then for them to connect with you and continue to learn and grow with you. I just really, really appreciate you and you taking some time and hanging out with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm genuinely honored to be in here and on this episode and just to be a part of everything that y'all are doing. It's great.
Until next time, let's get out there. Let's teach better.